Greetings and welcome back to the lab. I've readjusted the lights, hopefully it won't be so bad this time, and parts have arrived, so a minor unboxing this time. Let's make sure this is what I think it is. Should be the chips that I need themselves, and a large package of capacitors, which makes me kind of wonder how it all fits in here, but let's see if I can't open this up somewhat carefully and see what we get. Oh, more packaging. I see the capacitors. Yep, that's a whole bunch of 0.1 microfarad capacitors. And that is, what, 5, 10, 20, 556 chips, which is more than I need, but I always order just a little bit more just in case. So that's where we are on that. Now, just to quickly update you, I've been trying to get it working with the 555s that I have, but I've been missing both of these components, which have been kind of key. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start building just a couple of the oscillators on a board and see how that works. If things go horribly wrong, there will be sockets so I can pull the chip back out, and we'll see how well that works. And we'll also talk about, if I can get it to work, we'll talk about how to tune it. Okay, I'm back, and let me put that away. I've pulled out the circuit board, and I've been thinking about it, and I've got some numbers over here, which are the calculations. What I'm going to do for the keyboard is it's going to be 2 octaves starting at A220, but at the C above that, so that's 261 hertz. That means that the first C will actually be a 440. But I kind of wanted to do a lower pitch thing because I think they might mix more interestingly. And this is an expandable keyboard, so I can just keep adding. I can go lower, I can go higher. Or actually with these boards, they're going to plug in, so I can swap them out at any point if I want to. I have to just get more chips and more components and all of that. So, but since I haven't tested the board, and since I'm having so much trouble breadboarding it and trying to get that to work to a point where I can show you, I've decided I'm just going to go ahead and put the first note together and see how well it works, and see if I have to change out resistors or something like that. This is all calculated just for reference. 261.625 hertz, 0.1 microfarad for the capacitor. The resistor is, the R1 is 1000. R2 is actually split in 3 pieces, so it'll be a 22,000 plus a 4700 plus a variable resistor, which I need to set at 320.426 to get it properly tuned, at least according to the calculations. So I wanted to leave some breathing room. That's why there is the variable resistor there. So if you're used to looking at the standard 555 A-stable circuit, C1 is the 0.1 microfarad, R1 is 1000, and R2 is the combination of these 3 to get to that objective frequency. So I'm just going to start building, and we'll see what we can come up with. I'll just time-lapse it, and yeah, cue the music. Okay, I went away for a little bit while I set up the next stage of this, and I'm about to plug in the power, which I'm just using one of my breakout boards to go to the power on the header, which when I get through a certain point of this, I'll explain what all these pins are on the header. But there's also 2 pins up here, which are a takeoff of the output prior to going through a mixing stage. So if you want to use that instead of mixing everything on the board, but it also makes it really convenient for testing. So I'm going to plug it in, and either it's going to make a sound or it's not. If it doesn't make a sound, it may be because I need to go back through the header here and connect positive to the first pin here, the first key. So let's see what happens. Okay, nothing there. Let's see if we can't jump that connection. So positive should be right here. And pin 1 right there. And I got nothing. That's interesting. Alright. It's not just low volume. So I've got some more diagnosis to go through. I did leave off the decoupling capacitor, which I now realize should be up closer to the chip. So I'm probably going to have to redesign this board at some point and then have to wait for it. But let me try one more thing. This is a variable resistor. Let me just see if I adjust it, whether it's just so low. Okay, that's not doing anything. Okay, for the moment, the first test is a failure. I'm gonna, you know what I can do is I can try to put in something for the decoupling capacitor. Really shouldn't matter. At least I don't think it does. I'm not hearing anything. Let me try a different capacitor. This is why some of this stuff is just strewn about, is because I keep trying different things that aren't quite working. Let's see if we can make this one do something for me. Nope, not hearing anything. Alright, I am going to try a few other things, and I'll come back and either we'll have sound or I'll wrap up. Okay, time to pack it in. This did not work, but the good news is I've got enough spare parts to do this a couple of times. I've got a bigger breadboard I can try and test things on. I can make sure the chips are working, and if I understand correctly, according to the tracking, tomorrow I'm getting an oscilloscope. Not a super expensive one, and it's not something I expect everybody else is going to have to be able to figure this out, but the whole idea is I develop these circuits. Once I know they're working, then I'll release the circuit boards. There's no point releasing a circuit board that doesn't work. So once I get it working, I'll release the circuit board. I'll have good documentation of what's going on with it, but I can use that oscilloscope to really test to make sure. I mean, I've got my multimeter. I can make sure that power is getting into the circuit. I can use the oscilloscope to test for signals in various different locations to make sure everything is working the way it's supposed to be working. I can go back and review the schematic that I put together and make sure that this is wired up correctly. I can also, since I still have 7 more keys worth of circuit board here, I could actually put a whole bunch of these wires. I could put a whole bunch of these on here and then be able to use them to connect into a breadboard, and that way I can kind of see what's going on and then be able to eventually swap out once I know I got the components right, take them off the breadboard, put them here. So there are different things I can try. I am not giving up by any stretch. I'm sorry this ended up in failure, but you don't learn unless you fail. So that's where we are. Yeah, hopefully next video, well, I'll have some sound. Otherwise, there are some backup projects. So while I'm trying to get this figured out, if I have to order more parts or something like that, there are other projects coming. So stay tuned. We'll see you on the next one.